The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 8, title When We're in Need. And this episode, of course, is going to be Armie Hammer's favorite episode, because nothing says a second last episode of the season of television than Cannibals. Nothing says people, us, the audience, meaning characters who eat other people. Nothing says that. I mean, me who has played the game, like, if this is a situation where people say, Josh, did you knew what was going to happen because you played the game? I'm like, yeah, that's that. Yeah, I knew about David and the Cannibals and you know, all the action beats and all the things that were going to happen and the cool scenes and the great emotional scenes that were going to happen. Yeah, I knew all about that, and they did it. They did it fantastically. This one thing, it's a nitpick, but it's like the ending scene, right? The last scene, which I will talk about probably nearly at the end. But when that girl got her stew and she's eating the meat, and I'm like, no, don't tell me she's eating her father. Because her father got killed at the end of episode 6, because her father was the one who injured Joe, and, you know, Joe killed him, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, don't tell me. No. She's eating her father without even knowing. Oh, dear. And I like how I said, like, without knowing. Like, knowing is going to make things less bad. Like, eating a relative, eating a human being in general, knowing it is, and you're still going to eat it, that's not... No, that's not good. No. I you know, honor, I retract my statement. Anyway. But David as a character at the beginning, I was like, knowing the path that we're going on, I'm like, okay, to try and make David this like calm, delectful, everything's cool, everything's great. You understand why he wants to kill Joel, but he really wants Ellie to come into the fold, come into his colony, make sure everything's, you know, he feels like a friendly, lovely guy, right? Where he's a preacher for good sakes, you know, the son of a prince man, like, you know, you're thinking, okay, this is all good. But the moment he also slaps that same girl, like glove slaps, like, she interrupts him, and he's just like, I'm just gonna take my gloves, and slaps her with the glove. I'm like, yeah, this is neat. I'm like, this is a very clever way to show this guy has a violent side. This is a guy that you don't want to trust. Because video game David, I don't know about you, but the first time I played The Last of Us, I always felt David was a little bit of a shady character, even when he first meets Ellie. Like, they try to make, you know, David this kind of lovely guy who just wants to get some food for, you know, his people. But there was always a sense of like, no, I don't trust him. Something's up with him. And of course there was. Well, this one, you could find that sense of, okay, we understand why people would follow him, even if he will glove slap you or act very violently towards you or whatever. You understand why you would still follow him. We see Joel's violent side. I mean, Joel in this show hasn't really unleashed the beast that much. Like, Tess has, like, I remember back in episode 1, Tess was like, you know, I can control him. He'll do what I say, but, you know, he'll be violent when he needs to be. You know, but I'm able to tame him. But outside maybe of things here and there, what have you, it just feels, we never seen him being that violent, that visual, that like, that you know, the thing that Tess was talking about back in episode 1. But in this episode, doing that recreation of that scene where he goes and says, if you don't, I'll pop your goddamn knee off. Like, if you don't tell me where she is, I'll pop your goddamn knee off. Like, I'm like, and he's just stabbing guys and whacking people with the bat. And I'm like, this is probably a good way to go. Where when it happens in next week, you can buy it. You can buy why he would act this certain way and go that certain path and do those certain things that would lead onto a season 2 or sequel video game. But the thing is, if they're going the route that I think they're doing, and that is, let us care for Joel, let us like Joel, let us, like it's the classic, like the character, and then by the end of the season, don't like the character, fucking hate the character, versus the video game route, which is to show the piece of shit that Joel is, to the point where he's like all about, I lost my daughter. You're like, I don't really give a shit. It sucks. People die every day. Fuck this. You done this. Fuck you, Joel. Fuck you. As the video game counterpart basically is, that would isolate the average goer, because it's that classic thing of, why would I want to watch a show if I can't at some point like the main character, at some point agree, or why would I watch a show where I can't root for the main character reaching his goal because I don't like the guy. Now you may say, well, what about Dexter? Dexter's a serial killer, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but he kills other killers. It's a little bit of fight fire with fire, so there's that sense of, okay, he's Punisher, he's Batman, he's that type of thing. Versus Joel, the video game counterpart of Joel, he is just this brutal, violent, despicable person. But in the TV show, you need some relatability in there. Of course, there's a lot of scenes from the game that is taken into live action. You got outside the massive action sequence, which once again from last week, if you had that every single week, where it's just hordes and hordes of affected coming towards you, the problem is that would, for the average goer, would be boring television, because it's the same type of action sequence. But outside of that, nearly every interaction of David and Ellie are the same. I mean, clearly the best moments from both versions are the scenes where it's just Ellie and David.
So now what? You gonna chop me up into tiny pieces?
I'd rather not. Please tell me your name.
You're so full of shit.
On the contrary, I've been quite honest with you. Now I think it's your turn. It's the only way I'm going to be able to convince the others.
Convince them of what?
That you can come around. You have heart. You're loyal. And you're special.
Oh.
You stupid little girl. You are making it very difficult to keep you alive. What am I supposed to tell the others now?
Ellie.
What?
Tell them that Ellie is the little girl that broke your fucking finger.
The only thing is, and you may say, dude, it's semantics, but I feel like it's more powerful in the game in this certain way, the order it went in. It's all the same. You have fire at the west one, Seth being a machete, it's a hatchet, Ellie gets the hatchet and does.
Ellie! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay.
they found a way to make David a more piece of shit. You would think eating people alive is enough, but no. They had to add like a sexual, creepy, pedophile level thing happening before the hatchet gets to his head, and you're just like, oh my lord. Well, what did he say about the biting? Like biting is his thing. Like he has a bite kink. He finds biting kinky, and naturally she's like screaming, no. And I'm like, God damn, what is going on here? And then, please, Joel, beat the shit out of him. Get the hatchet. I was like, get the hatchet, Ellie, quickly. And of course she does. Then she does the anger, goes outside, then meets Joel. I'm like, I felt like you could merge those two scenes together. For me, that would make things more emotional. Because David's all about, your father. I can be your father. I can be your dad. I can show you the true ways. And it's like, no, Joel is. Joel is her dad. It's like, fake dad, here comes the real dad. It's that type of The last thing I will talk about, and this episode once again is great. I feel like I'm a breaking wicker. Is that in this episode we meet Joel, and I say that as in actor-wise, as in the actor of Troy Baker, who is the original Joel, who played Joel in the Last of Us game, has a role known as James, David's right-hand man. He's the one who shoots Ellie off the horse. And next week we'll have Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in the original games next week. But the interesting thing for me when it got announced that, hey, the two, the original Joel and the original Ellie are going to have roles in the TV show. In my head, I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's awesome, great. I'm excited that we're going to see these two actors have some involvement in the show. And they're going to have some big roles. It isn't going to be some cameo. But when it got announced, I was a little bit curious, definitely when it came to Troy Baker, because I already know him from his voice acting stuff. And I was a little bit curious about that transition, because it is a different skill set to do voice acting, even for motion capture, that The Last of Us is, and Naughty Dog likes to do, and all that kind of stuff, is a different skill set than doing on-screen work. Definitely when it comes to, something like The Last of Us, where it's very real, very subtle performances. And I was quite curious how that, if, he was able to pull that off. And I'm like, yeah, he's a great episode. We got one more week. And all I will say is, hold on to your butts, all you non-gamers, because shit is going to be hitting the fan. And apparently it's only going to be like 45, 46 minutes long. But again, this episode was 50 minutes long, and no way we'll pack a lot of stuff in it. So, depends how they tell it.